Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. In the last lecture, we read about the mountains of the world, their origin, various different periods in which they originated, various orogenic movements, the type of mountains, and what can be expected when we see or hear about a certain sort of mountain, let's say block or fold mountain, how they are formed, and some examples about them. In this lecture, we'll continue from there and see about the locations of important world mountains, such as Rockies, Andes, Appalachian, and we'll know a little more about them as per the UPSC. Let us first figure out some basic terms which we are going to use in the lecture, such as ridge, mountain range, etc. So, mountain ridges refer to the mountains which originate as a result of local folding and faulting. So, both sort of mountains are included here, whether they are block mountains or the fold mountains. Generally, the slope of one side of the ridge is steep in contrast to the moderate slope on the other side. So, we can see this, let's say if there's any folding here, sorry, the block mountain is here. So, one side will be, if there's downshifting of the valley part, then this ridge will be very steep and the other side will be little slopey. Alright, so this can be seen both in the folding mountains like this, because there is a compression here. So this side will be ridge side and this side will be slope side. In some cases, a ridge may have a symmetrical slope on both sides. When you come to the mountain range, okay, this fact you need to learn about Himalayas because it can come as an option itself. That when we talk of Himalayas, the southern slope is steeper compared to the northern slope. Alright, so when we see about the Himalayas, let's say, so this southern slope, which is towards India, so it's steeper than the northern slope. So why is this? Because the Tibetan plateau here, and it's made of the compression itself. So this slope is not as steep, the northern one. Alright, when you come to the mountain range now, it refers to a series of ridges. So first of all, a ridge has to be formed, and then various different ridges collectively form a mountain range, which originated in the same age and underwent the same processes. The most prominent or characteristic feature of a mountain range is their long and narrow extension. Examples can be the Himalayas is a mountain range with Himadri Ridge, Himachal Ridge and Shivalik Ridge. They also are individually ranges because there are further many hills in them, hills and small mounts. Alright, so Himalaya is divided into three parts. We we already know this: Himadri ranges or Himadri Ridge, Himachal Ridge and Shivalik Ridge. When we come further towards a mountain system, then a group of mountain ranges formed in a single period, similar in their form, structure and extension, is termed as mountain system. Alright, so examples are basin ranges of Nevada, the Rocky Mountain system of North America and the Appalachians. So we already know when we draw USA, then the Appalachians are here and the Rockies are on this edge. When you come to the mountain chain, it consists of mountain ranges which differ in size and period of formation. So this definition, please remember that they should differ in size or period of formation. When we talk about the Cordillera, so it's a term. It's a regional term from South America. So Cordillera is a community of mountain which include ridges, ranges, mountain chains and mountain system. Best example of the Western Cordillera is the western part of North America. Okay, let's move forward to the first mountain ranges or system. Alright, here's a list actually of the most important mountain ranges or systems we are going to read. Okay, so here's the Andes mountains, the Rockies, the Great Dividing Range. I'll just mark where they are. So Andes are in Southern Americas, the Rockies are in Northern Americas. The Great Dividing Range is it in Australia. The Trans-Antarctic Mountains, they are in Antarctica. The Ural Mountains, they are between the Europe and the Russia. The Atlas Mountain, they are in Africa. The Appalachian Mountain Range, it's again in the USA. The Himalayas, our loveliest mountains, they are in India, Nepal as well as some are spread in further countries. The Altai Mountains, So they are in near China, Mongolia and all. The Western Ghats, they are in India towards the western side. The Alps, they are in Europe between France, Germany. The Drakensberg, they are in southern Africa. The Aravalli ranges, they are in India, in the Rajasthan part, originating from here and going till Delhi Raisina Hills. Alright. Let's begin with the Andes. So the Andes is the longest continental mountain range in the world. So this is the first thing that you need to remember. It's also the world's highest mountain range outside of Asia with an average height of 4,000 meter. So the highest peak in the Andes is Mount Aconcagua, and that is 6,962 meter high. Its origin is volcanic, but now it's dormant. Whenever you hear terms like this Agua, Nicaragua, you might know. So it's a country here. Alright, so these terms are related to South America mostly. So world's highest volcanoes are in the Andes mountain ranges. Ojos del Saldo, and it is an active volcano in the Chile-Argentina border, is the highest volcano on earth. So these are some facts you need to know. One is this: the highest peak in the Andes is Mount Aconcagua, and it's a volcanic origin but dormant. And Ojos del Salado, it's the world's highest volcano on earth. Okay, it's not the largest, it's the highest. Please remember, it needs not to be the, let's say, the largest volcano ash or forming one. It is just the highest. Alright. So they are 7,000 kilometers long, the Andes range. Let us see on the map. So this is a map of the Southern America. Here you can see the Brazil, and there are various different countries. Just a second. Okay, here is Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina and Chile. You can just see the mapping section also as when we are reading mountains. I'll keep a track of that. So Andes run through this part. This part. Alright. So this is the coastal region towards which Andes run. So Andes can be divided into three sections. The southern Andes in Argentina and Chile here. The central Andes, then the Peru and Bolivia. Alright, here, this part. And the northern Andes in Venezuela, Colombia and Ecuador, in these three countries. Okay, so the separate Sierra Nevada, the Santa Marla range is often treated as a part of the northern Andes. Just a second, let us see some more mapping. So Andes are like this, as I shown you. This is the, just a second. So this is a 3D sort of map. Alright, this shows the extent of Andes, maximum in the central region. So that's why they are spread towards Peru and Bolivia also. As we go down south towards Argentina and Chile, they start to shrink. Alright, the northern Andes are a continuation of this sort of formation, and their height is good, but the width is less. Alright, let's now come to the Rocky Mountains. So they are in USA. So Rocky Mountain Range form a part of the American Cordillera. So this we already talked about. American Cordillera. The American Cordillera is a chain of mountain ranges that consists of almost continuous sequence of mountain ranges that form the western backbone of the Americas and Antarctica. Alright, so we can treat the Rockies, the Andes and the transatlantic mountains in one sort of formation. Alright, so here are the Rocky Mountains of Americas. Then continuation as in the Andes Mountains of the South America and the Trans-Antarctic Mountains of the Antarctica. It is also the backbone of volcanic arc that formed the eastern half of the Pacific Ring of Fire. The range's highest peak is Mount Elbert in Colorado. Colorado is in USA at 4,401 meter, but it is slightly lower than the formations of the Andes in Southern America. Alright, you can tell me in the comment section which is the highest volcano in the world located in the Andes mountain ranges. Okay, so Mount Robson in British Columbia is the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies. So its extent is up to Canada in the north, the USA in the eastern part, sorry, central part. And please remember, as you may already know, they are in the western part of the American continent. Alright, going back to the Andes, we'll just revise. The highest peak is Mount Aconcagua, and the world's highest volcano here, Ojos del Salado. Alright. Alright. So the North Cordillera of these Rockies are from Mexico northwards. They include the Alaskan Range and the Brooks Range in Alaska, main belt of the Rocky Mountains along with the parallel Columbia Mountains, the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, and various small Pacific coastal ranges. In Mexico, the Cordillera continues through the Sierra Madre Occidental and the Sierra Madre Oriental. Alright, so they are just part of the Rocky Mountain ranges. You should note down the important mountains and their locations. South Cordillera of the Rocky Mountains. So this continues to the mountain range of Central America in Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So these are the connecting ridge, let's say, of the USA and the Southern Americas. So these are the central ones. So I told you about the Nicaragua. There are other countries, Honduras, Guatemala, Panama, Hawaii. So these become the Andes mountain of the South America eventually when we go towards more further south. The Andes with their parallel chain continue to very tip of South America at Tierra del Fuego. The Cordillera continues along the Scotia Arc before reaching the mountains of the Antarctic Peninsula. So Scotia Arc, please remember this also. Okay, here we see completely, these are the Rocky Mountains of the USA. So USA, you can see it's a pretty big country. Just a second. When we include Canada as well. So this is the Alaskan Range. Just a second. Use some other different color. Okay, let us try this. So this is Alaskan Range here. Then the Rocky Mountains are quite wide in their northern part. And their extent is quite big. Okay, towards all of the central part also. They are at least 20% of the width they are accumulating. Further down south, they keep shrinking and continue as the Andes and Transantarctic. Alright, here you can see a better perspective on the map of the Rocky Mountains, but they are spread towards this side also. Alright. Okay, let's move forward. We come towards the Cascade Range. So they are a mountain range in the western North America, and the Cascade volcanoes are part of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. So please remember this. Where is this Cascade Range? It is in northern USA. They are made up of band of thousands of very small short-lived volcanoes. The Cascade Range has few strikingly large volcanoes like Mount St. Helens. The volcanoes and earthquakes in the Cascade arise from a common source. So what is the common source? It is subduction. So where the dense Yuan di Fuca oceanic plate plunges beneath the North American plate. So here we can see the Ring of Fire also from this map. Ring of Fire is a ring of active and non-active dormant volcanoes through the Pacific Ocean and in and around the Pacific Ocean. So times and times again, there are volcano eruption in these areas, and this is why it is known as Pacific Ring of Fire. So we already saw that Rocky Mountains and Andes create the eastern half of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Alright. We see various different plates here, the Nazca plate and Caribbean plate, South American plate. Nazare waves can be found here among the Peru, near the Peru. Alright, because of this plate. Then there are Pacific plate, Indian Australian plate, Philippines plate, etc. Here we can see the Cascade Range of mountains. They are small volcanic mountains. Alright, this is Yuan di Fuca plate. So this can be asked in prelims directly. Okay, that because of the subduction of Yuan di Fuca plate, which of the mountains have been created? Rockies, Andes, Cascade Mountains, the Great Dividing Range. Alright, so you have to tick on the Cascade Range. Alright, now let's come to the Great Dividing Range. So, Great Dividing Range or the Eastern Highlands is Australia's most substantial mountain. Alright, we are looking at Australia here and we are going towards the southeastern end of the Australia. So it's also known as Australian Alps. So they are snow covered. Alright, most of them are snow covered, and they were formed due to the rifting. Okay, so rifting, we'll see. Here's a picture of these mountains, the Great Dividing Range. So here we can see in this picture further that million years ago, so 490 to 460 million years ago, just a second, Australia was connected to Antarctica. This is Australia, this is Antarctica, and there was this drifting. Alright, so 400 to 380 million years ago and 360 to 340 millions a year ago, they drifted apart, the Australia and Antarctica, and they have been going apart. So development of Australian Alps was like this 130 million years ago. So this is Gondwana land, and this is the ridge formation here. So in the Gondwana land there is a ridge formation which would ultimately divide this into two parts. One is Australia here in the left side, and one is this submerged continent. Alright, Zealandia, that will eventually be submerged in the ocean. So this is present. This is the Tasmanian Sea. Alright. So these are some orogenic movements which you have already read about. So let's now come at the trans-Antarctic mountains. So the mountain range stretches between the Ross Sea and the Weddell Sea. The entire width of Antarctica, hence name is trans-Antarctic mountains. Alright. So this is the Ross Sea. This is the Weddell Sea here. Alright. So with a total length of about 3,500 kilometers, the trans-Antarctic mountains are one of the longest mountain ranges on the earth. The Antarctic Andes are even longer, having in common with the trans-Antarctic mountains. Alright, so we'll see them also. They're located at this part, in fact. Just a second. Alright, so this Antarctic Andes, they are located in this part. And the mountains that we are talking about are located between here. Okay, when are the Antarctic Andes now? So some geologists consider the Antarctic Andes as southernmost continuation of the Andes or Antarctica. The highest mountain on the peninsular Antarctic Andes is Mount Hope. So this you have to remember. Mount Hope. This is very important. Has been asked previously. In the Eternity Range in Palmer Land. So these three names you please remember. To the southwest, the Antarctic Andes continue as the Ellsworth Mountains, the highest mountain range in Antarctica and much covered by glaciers in Palmer Land. Okay, so this you remember. Alright, some more mountains are here. These ones are the Ural Mountains. So as I told you, they are located between the Russia and Europe. Alright, so mountain range in the map we can see them. Here are the Ural Mountains. Alright. So mountain range that runs approximately from north to south through western Russia, from the coast of Arctic Ocean to the Ural River and northwestern Kazakhstan. They are formed due to continent-continent collision. Okay, so this is the region. So country-wise, Russia is far extended towards the west and Ural are here. But when we are talking about the Europe and Russia, we are talking about the continent-continent collision. Alright, so continent-continent collision of supercontinent Laurasia with the young and weak continent of Kazakhstan, India. Their eastern side is usually considered the natural boundary between Europe and Asia. So since the 18th century, the mountains have been a major mineral base of Russia. So this mountain range forms part of the conventional boundary between the continents of Europe and Asia. The Vegach Island and the island of Novaya Zemlya form a further continuation of the chain to the north into the Arctic Ocean. The average altitude is around 1000 to 1300 meters, which is not very much, but the highest point is Mount Narodenya. Alright, so this you can remember, but it's not very important. Just remember the location of Ural Mountains. Okay, next we come to the Africa. Two mountains are important here. One is Atlas Mountain. So here you can see the Atlas Mountain in the northwestern side of the Africa. Here you can see this high Atlas range, middle Atlas, tail Atlas range. Alright. So Atlas Mountains are mountain range in the Maghreb in North Africa. It separates the Sahara Desert from the Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. The name Atlantic is derived from this mountain range only, from the Atlas. Atlas was a Greek god who was supposed to lift the earth on his shoulders, like this. Alright, you may have seen this sign on the Atlas cycle also. So because of this mountain, the height of this mountain, it was said that he lives on this mountain. Alright. So it stretches around 2,500 kilometers along Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. And the range's highest peak is Top Kal. So this you need to remember. Okay, it's in central Morocco with an elevation of 4,167 meter. Recently there was an earthquake also which killed many people in Morocco. So you can read about that. So Atlas mountains are primarily inhabited by the Berber population. Okay. Himalayas, we already know about Himalayas. Just let us see some related mountain ranges here, which is Altai. This is Pamir Plateau, Tian Shan, Kunlun, and this is Hindu Kush. Aravallis we have already seen. Western and Eastern Ghats are here. Alright, so this we don't need to see these many, the smaller ones, Elbers, Zagros, Tunas. These we don't need to see in the Middle East. They are mountain ranges. So Himalayan range is home to the planet's highest peak, including the highest Mount Everest. And its western anchor, Nanga Parvat, lies just south of the northernmost bend of Indus River. Eastern anchor is Namcha Barwa, okay, just west of the great bend of Brahmaputra River. So just remember that the western anchor is Nanga Parvat and the eastern end is Namcha Barwa. Alright, the range varies from 400 kilometers in the west to 150 kilometers in the east. So just remember that in east it shrinks little bit. The Himalayas are among the youngest mountain ranges on the planet, consist mostly of uplifted sedimentary and metamorphic rock systems. According to the modern theory of plate tectonics, their formation is a result of the continental collision and basically folding of the Australian and the Eurasian plate, Indo-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate. Okay, the Arakan Yoma Island in Myanmar, Andaman and Nicobar Island in the Bay of Bengal were also formed as a result of this same collision. Now when we come to the Alps, we see that they are located between France, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia, Italy, Liechtenstein, Germany. Alright. So they are formed as the African and Eurasian plate tectonic plates collided. So African plate here and Eurasian plate here. So they collided. So extreme folding caused by the event resulted in marine sedimentary rocks rising by thrusting and folding into high mountain peaks such as Mont Blanc. Alright, that is on a French-Italian border. The Alpine region area contains about 100 peaks higher than 4,000 meter, known as the 4,000ers. Alright, these are Appalachian Mountain in the Northern Americas towards this side. Okay, they are major cities located are Boston, New York, Washington, Toronto, Montreal. Montreal is in Canada. Alright, here. So they run across the United States and Canada. So they are mountain range in eastern to northeastern North America. The Appalachian range runs from the island of Newfoundland to southwestern of central Alabama in the United States. So what's important here is that highest peak is Mount Mitchell. Alright, this is not important that it's technically falling in the three countries, but I'll just supply the PDF for the information. Okay, so it is also the highest point in the United States east of the Mississippi River, Mount Mitchell. The Altai Mountains, so they are located here between the Mongolia, China and Kazakhstan. So Altai Mountains, here you can see that. So Altai Mountains are a mountain range in Central Asia and Eastern Asia, where Russia, China, Mongolia and Kazakhstan converge, and where the rivers Irtysh and Ob have their headwaters. So remember the name of these rivers. The massif merges with the Sayan Mountains in the northeast and gradually becomes lower in the southeast, where it merges into the high plateau of Gobi Desert. So Gobi Desert also remember with the Altai Mountains. The northwestern and northern slopes of the Siliguan mountain are extremely steep and difficult to assess. Okay, so this you don't need to read right now. Just put it in notes when you get the PDF on the channel. So Deccan's work, we already seen it. It's in South Africa. Just see the countries: Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. Alright. So it's found in South Africa and Lesotho, and it's the highest mountain range in Southern Africa. Reaching, so this is Africa, please remember, not America, okay? The Drakensberg form the eastern section of the Great Escarpment, which borders the central plateau of southern Africa. So this is a mountain range actually, this Great Escarpment. Alright, and this is the highest mountain system of this. The highest point is Tabata Naitelianum, situated in Lesotho, and the highest point in South Africa at 3,482 meter. So this mountain range, Great Escarpment, is composed of steep rift valleys all formed around a bulging of continental crust during the breakup of southern Gondwana that have since eroded inland from their original positions near southern African coast. Alright, so basically it's erosion and rifting. Okay, breaking off and rifting, just like the Great Dividing Range. Aravalli Mountains, they're located here in the middle of Rajasthan. They divide Rajasthan into two parts. Alright. So the information about this is the oldest mountain of the world. Okay. So it's approximately 670 kilometers in length, runs in this direction, and does not start there Delhi. Actually, it ends near Delhi, and it originates from the sea, this side, on the ends of Gujarat, coastal Gujarat. The highest peak is Guru Shikhar. It is in Mount Abu, near Udaipur in Rajasthan. Alright. The Aravalli Range is arguably the oldest geological feature on whole Earth, having its origin in the Proterozoic era. So this is the oldest mountain range of the world. And in the same time, Appalachian mountain ranges were also formed. Okay, they are both of Precambrian period. So Aravalli is eroded stub of ancient mountains. It is believed to be the oldest range of fold mountains in India. The natural history of Aravalli Range dates back to times when the Indian plate was separated from the Eurasian plate. Range rose in a Precambrian event called the Aravalli Delhi origin. So Precambrian event, okay, just remember this, it's the oldest, and their nature is fold mountain. Okay, so this was the lecture about major locations of important mountains of the world. So thank you very much for watching. Yatharth here signing off. I'll see you in the next video.